Hello, this is Matt Bergman, and you are listening to the Punk Rock Libertarians Podcast, episode 72. I'm here tonight with none other than Alexis Schlegel.
What's going on, Matt?
Hey. Hi, Alexis.
What's going on?
So, man, Bill Weld. He's been a douche this week.
Yeah, tell us about it, Matt.
So, I believe it was during the Democratic convention, but I just heard about it this week. He was interviewed by revolt.tv.com or revolt.tv, the website, and he one of the things that he said was they were talking about like gun control and shit, and he was saying handguns are a bigger problem than rifles, and he was basically saying that there's not much of a difference between regular rifles and assault rifles, and he didn't really know any of the correct terminology as he was spouting shit off. And also, the most disturbing thing to me was he said that anybody on the terror watch list should not be allowed to purchase a gun. Now, the terror watch list consists, from what I researched into it, and from what I could see, according to ACLU, the terror watch list consists of over 1 million names. Now, to give some perspective on how many people a million people is, the city of Baltimore's entire population is only 622,000 people. So there's more people on the terrorist watch list, or the terror watch list, than reside in the entire city of Baltimore. So, that right off the bat, I would think, wow, all those people can't be quote unquote terrorists.
Right.
So, and to deny all these people of due process just because, some dickhead from the government arbitrarily threw them on a list.
Right.
To deny them of their Second Amendment right without due process, it's really fucked up. It's not libertarian. It's unconstitutional.
Right. Because that's that includes the no-fly list, right?
No. Well, the terror watch list is a different list. I think there's more people on the no-fly list. There's a ton of fucking lists.
Yeah. Well, they were talking about. Well, yeah. I guess there's too many lists.
Yeah, totally. And then plus, I was talking to a buddy from work the other day, and he said, well, if somebody's on the terror watch list and they bought a gun, maybe they should be able to buy a gun, because then they buy a gun and then you could start watching what they're doing. You know what I mean?
But that's counter.
Like that was the way. But in other words, it's if they are gonna watch people, you know what I mean? And if somebody's on the terror watch list, and then say they buy a gun and then they buy some some shit for a bomb, I don't know. It's basically like the bottom line is this haystack that they're building of 1,000 names is just so big that they can't even sift through it anyways. Right. And then to deny people of their constitutional rights without due process, that's fucked up. Most Republicans are against such a thing. Not to mention libertarians. And you think back to the Libertarian Convention, or at least I think back, I was rooting for Bill Weld, and just because of the good faith that I had in Gary Johnson, and I was thinking, okay, if Gary wants the guy, if Gary needs the guy, I'll take Gary's word for it. And this guy's promising people that he's read the platform and he's going to do right by the platform. And it's what does this have to do with the libertarian platform? Nothing.
Exactly. Well, that's a lot of times when he starts speaking, it's all right, stop while you're ahead, Bill Weld. Don't go down, because he said a lot of things that are very, I don't know, just very concerning. But yeah, this is definitely because all right, even this. Okay, who are you trying to appeal to? Just like you said, this is a hardcore libertarian issue. If you budge on this, you lost our vote. Not only that, but a huge swath of Republicans, no matter how conservative, they're they don't want to be on some list. And then furthermore, who are you trying to appeal to? You're trying to appeal to the left. Well, okay, they might not like the gun aspect, but the fact that you can come at this issue from a civil liberties issue, that your privacy is being invaded, or that from a civil liberty stance, instead just remove the whole gun aspect. Liberals would appeal to a message of upholding the Constitution and upholding, your right to privacy, So he doesn't have to be wishy-washy on this, or I don't know. Sometimes a lot of things what he says, it really concerns me because it's like, who are you trying to appeal to, Bill Weld?
Yeah, exactly. And
like some of his comments on TPP, I'm like, why would you say you're in favor of trade or free trade? It's not. It's it's crony capitalism. And
I think what frustrates me even more is the libertarians that are like, oh well, the Republicans that are voting with their principles and voting for Gary Johnson, they're so brave and thanks for doing the right thing. And then when another fellow libertarian brings up, that Bill Weld is in contradiction with our principles, then it's like, then all of a sudden they're really pissed at you. But wait, I thought we were talking about principles. I thought the Libertarian Party slogan is the party of principle.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's all these like libertarian cucks out there, It's like I mentioned this to Tom Mann. Denying people due process is unconstitutional, and it really bothers me. He blocked me and unfriended me.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like, okay, wow, dude. I mean, are you in this for liberty or are you in this to win? Because, if we win and we elect a fucking tyrant, are we really winning?
Well, the lesser of three evils.
Exactly. At what point does the Gary Johnson campaign become the lesser of three evils?
Yeah.
And I have some differences in opinion with Gary Johnson here and there, but I still love the guy. I think he's fucking awesome. And I was rooting for Bill Weld just for taking Gary on his word. But shit like this is really, Gary, put this guy in check.
Yeah, and Gary's been consistent, And the few issues that I'm kind of like where he's wishy-washy on, it's not a huge issue. You know what I mean? Or it's not like, where
it's basically typically it's like a libertarian straw man question that's not even going to come up in real life. You know what I mean?
Where you support, restricting your
restricting constitutional rights without due process.
Yeah, like your rights. You're basically treated as a criminal before. Exactly, without due process, that you're on some list.
You're guilty until proven innocent. That's the opposite of what it is. That is supposed to be what makes us free.
Yeah, like this is
supposed
glaring.
to separate us from all those countries that are not
this.
free. Exactly.
You have to be able to be strong on this issue, and you can't waver on this.
Yep. And another person, Andy Craig, unfriended me, and it's basically like C. Michael Pickens did this post where. He was just pointing out, they'll praise Republicans for voting on principle, for voting for Gary Johnson. But then when a libertarian, calls out the Johnson campaign, for Bill Weld spouting this tyrannical bullshit, nobody respects those principles.
Yeah.
It's nobody gets on them to keep the principles. And, and it's basically like, if you're not spreading a good message,
consistent,
really,
man.
Yeah. What's the point of just putting anybody in a libertarian costume and trying to run for president?
Yeah, and just pandering to whoever your perceived audience might be. Yeah, that's what it is. It's like no, like that's why we see through pandering. From we see it instantly. We're not drawn to fake people. It's like in our DNA as libertarians to question and to not like waver on principles. That you have to be able to defend what you believe in. And when it's like you can spot someone that's not genuine, that's just pandering to whoever they're and
I'd like to point out that both of us are pretty moderate on this. Yeah, it's I'm like hardcore into the philosophy. I'm hardcore into basing. It's really, I believe in the non-aggression principle, and, I think it's really awesome, to not initiate force on people, and that should not be accepted. So, and I think that's a great philosophy to center around, other ideas, to center like all my ideas around. And I don't know, man. I just don't see, Bill Weld getting that at all.
No,
he's just not about that.
Right.
You know,
I mean, I can see you have to be pragmatic.
Yeah,
but
he comes off as more of a liberal Republican, you know. But, you know, in some ways he's not, when it comes to the Second Amendment, he's not as much for freedom as Republicans are even.
Right.
You know? And I think a libertarian should be, a libertarian, you know, in my mind, is more for freedom than the Republicans are on fiscal issues and more for freedom than the Democrats are on social issues.
Right.
You know, because freedom is the ultimate goal. So, I mean, as opposed to those other people, you know, that's what we're actually striving for. But, you know, I don't at all see that out of Bill Weld. To me, he comes off as a liberal Republican. You know, I'll give him props on being a good speaker, but, you know, if he's not saying the right things, who gives a shit?
You know what I was thinking, though? I don't know. This might be like another deep thoughts segment, but...
Deep Thoughts with Alex Schlegel?
Yeah, it might be. But, you know, with all this going on and with this whole shit show of an election, you kind of think maybe that, all right, let's face it, Democrat Party and Republican Party, they're dying. You know, they're dying parties with what happened with, you know, Bernie Sanders. And so you have all these disenfranchised Democrats that are sick and tired of their party. Republican Party is in total shambles. I'm just thinking maybe there's just going to be this big shift where the two, it's just going to be within maybe the next 20, 25 years, there's just going to be the Libertarian Party and basically the Green Party. And it's just going to be recreations of these two parties.
How, though? How are these parties going to really move in there? I think this election...
Maybe not
Gary
moving
Johnson,
in, but just defecting. Like, people just...
Well,
like,
I think
those parties are going to die off.
If Gary gets into the debates, anything can happen. You know? And what I don't want to see happen, which some people... Like, Will Coley was the first person that brought it up to me, is, you know, Bill Weld's obviously not a fucking libertarian, you know? Whereas if he's pulling some funds, is he also going to be pulling the strings? You know, is the Libertarian Party just going to be the new Republican Party?
Right.
I don't know, and I don't want to see that, dude. It's like,
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, maybe this is just, I don't know. It's kind of like Alex Jones behind the curtain, but you know, like
that would suck. Could you imagine not wanting to be identified as a libertarian anymore?
Yeah, where it's like just
I'm sorry,
Republican,
like
what Republican
if
should
Bill
be.
Weld is what the Libertarian Party brings out the people, why would you want to identify as a libertarian?
Yeah,
you know, even though we had the word first, what, you know, at some point, you know, once, you know,
that's what I mean. Like, and then like the word, I don't know. Sometimes I feel as though the ideals and principles have been watered down. Like, for example, you have douchebags like Glenn Beck claiming that he's a libertarian. No. Okay, has he shifted his tune? Yes, but I think he's done that for personal gain.
You know,
I think
honestly,
he's done that for personal gain.
Well, you know, it's funny though. I mean, I take Glenn Beck over William Weld any day.
Yeah,
like seriously, dude. If you want to talk about like the principles that I've heard Glenn Beck espouse in the past like 6 months, and I'm not somebody who regularly listens to his program, but you know, it seems like I've heard him say some things like. He's moved to. He's been gradually moving to the libertarian side for years. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm a person that never listens to his program or whatever the fuck he does.
I don't think that many people do.
Well, here and there, you know, he was actually. I saw an interview recently where he was saying, you know, I've been talking libertarian and I've been moving there more and more, and then he's basically saying like, you know. But then when it comes down to it, you know, I'd endorse a Republican because, you know, libertarians never have a shot of winning. But it's like, he's like, you know, this election, you know, I cannot resort to the lesser of two evils, you know.
Yeah, and I did see that interview, but I just think he's just like that type of person that just shapeshifts to stay relevant and just flips his to stay relevant.
From what I heard, like he put on the libertarian debate on Blaze out of his own pocket.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's. I mean, that's true.
It seems like he's going to great lengths to help make this happen.
Okay, but I mean, maybe he's just a smart businessman, and he sees the writing on the wall that, like,
maybe I don't know. I mean,
or not. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I do too. I mean, recently it seems like he's been more of an ally. You know, I'm still not ready to like praise Glenn Beck up and down, but you know, he does sound an awful lot more libertarian than William Weld. Than the original libertarian William Weld.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just when they say these things, it's just frustrating. It's like, but anyways, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's the question. What are you gonna do? So like, I found out about this. I think it was like Thursday night, and I was hanging out with New York Josh, and I was like, I was debating writing an article about this, and then after I messaged Tom Mann, and I messaged him politely, and just telling him that I had a problem with stripping people of their constitutional rights without due process, and he blocked me. It was kind of like right there, it kind of sealed the deal. It's basically like, I mean, like I go up to him to be like, okay, man, talk me down from here, man. Please, like, tell me how this makes sense. Explain,
right. I'm on the ledge here. Break it down here.
Like, at what point, should we, like, keep silent about this? I mean, this is just fucking ridiculous, And then so I write this article, and then I have it scheduled for Friday morning, I had it scheduled for Friday morning. And then I took it off schedule and I unpublished it because I'm like, okay, maybe this is irresponsible. I don't want to do anything to hurt the Johnson campaign.
Yeah.
There's still leaps and bounds better, or at least Gary Johnson is.
Yeah.
Gary Johnson is leaps and bounds better over Trump and Hillary Clinton. And, Weld might be better than them also, but at the same time, Weld is definitely, in my mind, the things that he's saying, if anything, he's a lesser of three evils.
Yeah.
Whereas, I'm not... he's not enough to get me excited about. If it were Weld running at the top of this ticket, I wouldn't make it out on election day. I just wouldn't give a shit. Or maybe I'd vote for Constitution Party. I don't know. From what I've heard, that guy sounds pretty libertarian. So then Friday night, I thought about it more, and I threw the article up. And, there were some people that are like, it's like the libertarian team. Like I hate that like the party politics, how it becomes like teams, because there are so many people that are like Republicans and Democrats, and they're just not principled at all. They're just going for the blue team or the red team.
Yeah.
And then you've got some libertarians that are like that, and it's basically like, oh well, this is why we always lose. And it's like, okay, well, if you don't have principles, is it worth winning?
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like, what are we doing this for? It's what are we doing this for? So that's why I posted the article. Like, I feel like Weld needs to be called out. I hope he saw it. I hope somebody's like, hey, we can't do this. We're pissing off our people.
Yeah.
And I think it's really fucking dumb too, because there's a lot of libertarians out there who, as you saw with the Ron Paul campaign. You had libertarians just like telling all their friends, spreading liberty word of mouth, spreading the message of Ron Paul word of mouth, and I don't think you're seeing that as much with Johnson as you would if Johnson would come off more principled.
Right.
And while it's like Johnson for me, I feel like Johnson for me, he's good enough. I can get excited about him. I can get excited about his experience.
You get excited for the Johnson.
Yeah, I do. And I think he's a genuinely decent human being. But with William Weld, it's, I mean, how is he libertarian? I don't know. I mean, I can see how, he's better on social issues than, he was a trailblazer on some social issues,
Yeah.
And I can see how he's fiscally conservative, but I mean, it's ultimately, I've always believed that the Second Amendment is your most important right. Because as long as you have that right, you can fight for all of your other rights. It is just the last ditch defense against tyranny, correct?
Without that, you can't fight for the right to party.
Exactly, yeah.
No, it's true. I mean, yeah, because that's what gives it its teeth, But, it's pretty disturbing because that's pretty fundamental, cut and dry amongst libertarians, and you're just gonna like alienate your base with
word. Man, to think about what could be, like fucking Larry Sharp. Did you catch him speak at all?
No, never did.
Yeah, he was running for VP, and I think he could be somebody good for 2020.
Yeah. I'll have to check him out.
Yeah, I mean, he was a competent speaker. He was principled, and at the same time, he was just likable. You know, he was like, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see more out of him, honestly. So, in other news this week, we got some more hypocrisy here, and okay, so Malia Obama was caught on video smoking marijuana. And, I don't for one second want to shame Malia Obama, just like I don't want to shame anybody who smokes marijuana. It's a victimless crime. Who gives a shit? But, the point is, the president's daughter is on video smoking weed. Can we all do it now?
Right.
It's, I mean, seriously, it's what the fuck? I don't want to see anybody's life ruined over it. But right now, 1 in 6 people who are in prison are in prison for marijuana.
Where was it taken anyways?
I don't know, some concert or something.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see like where, because that just heard on the radio like Oregon. Now there's 4 states recreational. Oregon, what's the 4th?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Colorado, Washington. Yeah, I'm not sure. Oregon. Yeah, I did not know that. That's anyways. Cool though. Yeah.
But yeah, what a hypocrisy, and the fact that, and then the media is stirring it all up and making a big deal about this. And it's such a false outrage because it's like, really, we're going to get worked up because President's daughter's smoking weed, Really? Aren't there more pressing things that we should be concerned about?
I mean, honestly, I think we should get worked up because I think we should just get worked up for all the people that are riding away in a fucking cage right now.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I mean.
That's why we need to point out the hypocrisy,
Yeah, but I mean, just this whole thing is like such a wedge issue where it's just like...
It's, and I don't in any way intend to shame Malia Obama. I memean, in my mind, she's a hero right now for doing this, just so I can use this in this conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, just she's making a difference by smoking marijuana. Good for her, I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy, and, if her father really believes in these drug laws, he should throw her in a fucking cage. If he really believes in these drug laws. But I don't believe anybody should be thrown in a fucking cage. I think, these people should be let out of the fucking cages. It's really fucked up. Honestly, they probably deserve some, like, fucking reparations. Because, their lives have been ruined for victimless crimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
it's the only idea I don't like about that is I don't feel like I should have to pay anybody any money because I was never for throwing them in there.
Right.
It's
quite the conundrum.
Yeah, it is totally. It's fucking craziness, dude. Craziness. So you were saying there's been a Milwaukee shooting?
Yeah, apparently there was a shooting late last night, I guess, and police involved shooting. I guess a suspect was fleeing on foot. Apparently he was armed, but there was a huge, I guess, riot that ensued in Milwaukee. Not a huge riot, but quite a few businesses were burned to the ground, a gas station, and apparently the National Guard was sent in. But I'm sure we'll find out more about it within this week. But yeah, it's just crazy, just another shooting. And then now when I was driving over here, I was listening to talk radio. I was just like flipping through the station because the O's game was just over. So I'm flipping through the station, and I don't know who it was, some right-wing Republican talk radio on a Sunday night. But it was just, like, demonizing. Like, it's just, like, the whole left-right conversation. It's just demonizing the Black Lives Matter movement to the point where, they're trying to pin what transpired on, like, Black Lives Matter to try to, like, basically discredit them. Even though, like, in any activist organization, you're always going to have like fringe elements, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have like assholes, regular people, like,
right, exactly.
All sorts,
And it's just kind of like, so, the right wing is like demonizing that, but not understanding what's really going on. And then on the left, it's like anytime you flip through NPR, just the other day, just what came out in Baltimore, like the Department of Justice just released this. What we already know is that, the policing that Baltimore Police Department does is unconstitutional. So many warrantless arrests, so many, individuals being detained with no probable cause. There was one individual that was arrested, stopped, and detained 30 times within 1 year, and the police didn't produce one arrestable offense or citation. So this black guy was locked up 30 times. It's like, we already fucking knew this. Thanks, Department of Justice, for wasting our taxpayer dollars to understand that the cops in Baltimore, it's inherently racist, and some of these neighborhoods are patrolled more because it's a whole failure of the war on drugs, which is completely left off. Like, the whole war on drugs inherently is racist, but the left refuses to talk about that. So, like, there's this huge elephant in the room that why Black Lives Matter basically came about. It was because of the drug war and because of the injustices with the justice system, and the fact that in those communities they're more likely to, like 10 times more likely to be arrested than you and I out here in the burbs. You know?
But honestly, dude, what I don't like about Black Lives Matter is it's basically, I think we have, sure enough, we do have race issues, but we also, I think the underlying issue is a police state issue.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
and dude, it's like, it's troubling to me because, like, if somebody of another race gets killed, if somebody who's white gets killed, you don't hear about it. It's not hands across America. It's basically, and it does happen.
No doubt.
It happened with Kelly Thomas. It happened with Dylan Noble.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's other names too. I just don't remember them because they were all in the media for like 2 seconds. You know?
And it's all stemming from the drug laws and just the fact that we have too many laws. So it's basically the police. It's created a culture and mentality where it's like us against them, and it's confrontational because they have to be, because of the war on drugs and because of basically the war on drugs is a huge part of it, but that's lost in the media in the whole, and it's just more like just basically it's just basically creating a wedge between us to really get to the heart of the matter and get to the root cause of a lot of the issues within society. And the way the media, you just see the bias in both the media, like from the left perspective and from the right perspective, that they're just leaving out, like, and it's done purposefully,
Yep. It's just totally divisive,
Yeah, seriously.
Let's just get people against the police state, period, and all the murders, period.
And the war on drugs, and
exactly,
our loss of civil liberties, regardless.
Yeah, that's another thing about like Black Lives Matter. Do they on their website? I believe they don't mention the drug war.
No, that's the thing. Like, I honestly think, like, a lot of times too, these organizations crop up. Like, look at the Tea Party. The Tea Party had to be hijacked by establishment Republicans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was definitely a wave that was started by Ron Paul and a select few others, but it was definitely Ron Paul's presidency or candidacy for president in 2008 that basically started the Tea Party movement. And it was principled. Like, that's when I really got involved in Campaign for Liberty. But Republicans saw that as a threat to the status quo, and what did they have to do? Establishment had to jump in front of the parade and like follow us, and the whole movement was squashed and watered down.
What I saw was like, okay, this is a group of like liberty-leaning Republicans, and essentially they saw like this is a huge group of people, right?
Yeah.
And I think they were thinking like, well, if we commandeer this group of eager people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And really, that's what happened. And
they brought them in, really, they used them, they used and abused them.
It got so big where it was bigger than any sort of principle,
Yeah.
And it was just essentially, it's like the new Republican trend.
Right. Well, that too, but that it had to be squashed. It had to be squashed, much like the Occupy movement, was a threat to the Democrats. The whole Occupy movement started out with principles, but then, the Democrats had to hijack that, Like, both movements had to be hijacked because, let's face it, if you talk to, like, individuals that were involved with the Occupy movement, and you talk to individuals that were like, involved in it, you could have a conversation and agree on probably like 80 to 90% of every, on issues. Yeah, you might differ a little bit on economics,
On solutions, yeah.
on solutions, but at the same token, like, honestly, like, I went to a lot of the Occupy, like, I went to a couple of the Occupy protests in Baltimore and just striking up conversations with people, and most people understood, like, central banking and like fractional reserve banking and the Federal Reserve, and understood like that's the mechanism and the bailouts, and that's how corporations get bailouts, and that's how they understand the mechanisms, and they understand, like, but both parties had to hijack those movements, because at the end of the day, if it would continue organically, we would have realized like we have a lot more in common with than we do with these two parties, so the powers that be had to squash both movements, and I kind of feel as though like maybe that's what's I don't know, like kind of what's going on now, like that. I don't know, we're kind of being taken along for a ride, possibly.
Yeah, so it looks like that's all we got on the outline for tonight.
Yeah, that's all I got, man.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
So, until next time, live free or die.
Statism's footprint, the blood that is shed, drenching the flags of the tax bombs in red. Poisons by a few at the expense of the many, sold to the gods and the death machine. You can't justify killing by economic gain. For God, country, and democracy, you get the freedom and gunpoint in a fine land. You support the troops, then bring them home. I believe that you will do the best for you, and I believe that we have the power, I hate the state, and I know I'm a slave. We can make the break the power. Society owes individuals nothing more than non-interference with natural rights. Once a virtuous person fully comprehends the non-aggression principle, the violence of the state becomes obsolete.